£20 coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Right. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person at the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do.
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Because is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. We can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she arrives, the officer appears unprepared for the situation. The auditor quickly notices her body camera and asks why she did not mention it. The guidance is clear. Officers should inform members of the public that they are being recorded at the earliest opportunity. Instead of admitting this, she wrongly denies that such a rule exists. Her next action is no better. She demands the auditor's name, even though this is not a criminal matter. It is simply a civil dispute between him and the petrol station, and no offence had been committed. The officer either did not understand the situation or chose to ignore it, both of which are unacceptable for someone wearing the uniform.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue, that's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue, then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you, for making off without payment?
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is. It is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them...
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah, agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today, whether we take your details and we deal with it at a later date.
The officer openly admits that it is a civil dispute, yet still tries to create a reason to demand identification. That is not how policing works. If there is no suspected offence, there is no legal power to force someone to provide their details. She cannot turn a private payment disagreement into a police-enforced ID check simply because the retailer is unhappy. When she claimed the auditor could be circulated as wanted, it sounded more like a threat than a lawful statement. Wanted markers are used for criminal matters, such as suspects, warrants, or failure to appear in court, not for civil contract disputes. Using the threat of criminal action to pressure someone into compliance is a misuse of authority and shows there was no proper legal basis from the start. If she genuinely believed a crime had taken place, she should have considered the legal elements involved, including dishonesty, making off, and intent to avoid payment. In this case, the auditor stayed at the scene, attempted to pay, and only disputed the payment method. That clearly makes it a civil matter, not a criminal.
So basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that. He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter, however, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details and making off without payment, So I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. Now he's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment, but if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Has he paid?
Policy? No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid, and if you walk out this door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
Well, I do.
Because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer arrives and immediately makes the situation worse by threatening arrest. That response is unreasonable. The auditor was still inside the premises, making no attempt to leave, and was openly disputing the payment. There could be no offence of making off without payment because he had not left the scene and showed no intention of avoiding payment. The threat becomes even weaker when considering that the auditor had already tried to pay with a £20 Royal Mint coin, which the cashier refused to accept. That alone undermines any claim that he was trying to avoid payment. Under the Theft Act, both leaving without paying and the intention to avoid payment must be proven. In this case, neither element was present. By trying to turn a civil disagreement into a criminal matter simply because they could not obtain his details, the officers showed a serious misunderstanding of the law.
If you walk out that door now, it is. If you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that
Is there any
the
other
coin
way?
can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being.
No,
however, we need
I don't
a
intend to.
solution.
No.
No, I appreciate
if you
that.
can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details and we can deal with it at a slower time, we can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
We don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid for the fuel. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately, yeah. We've agreed, we've reasoned with you now, and we've tried to say that if you give us your details, just tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave, you don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The entire exchange was based on a false assumption. The officers repeatedly warned the auditor not to leave, as if he was about to run off without paying. But that situation never existed. He was still inside the store, still speaking with staff, and had already attempted to pay using a Royal Mint coin. The officers were not reacting to his actual behavior, they were reacting to a situation they had imagined. That is not how the law works. It was a civil disagreement, not a criminal offence. Their claim that they needed to force identification was also weak. The auditor's number plate was parked outside, providing a lawful and simple way to confirm his details if it had genuinely been necessary. Instead of using that option, the officers continued demanding identification without proper legal authority and tried to turn a civil dispute into grounds for arrest. Rather than resolving the issue, they escalated it unnecessarily.
Because I've handed the coin over. Right. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, and was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so was it, did you contact them today, or was it yesterday or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. We'll agree to disagree. At the end
you don't know that. It is. It's legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right. Okay.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
Well, if it's a civil issue, I don't need to assist you.
But at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
But I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that.
The auditor had already done more than enough by explaining that BP themselves had confirmed the coin was valid. That should have resolved the issue immediately. Instead, the officer turned it into a demand, insisting that he personally contact BP or face further police involvement. That makes no sense. He had no legal duty to assist the officer in that way, and refusing to do so does not suddenly create a criminal offence. The role of the police is to examine the facts and apply the law, not shift the burden onto a citizen to prove their innocence. Her follow-up comment, "We don't know that coin," only weakens her position further. A £20 Royal Mint coin is legal tender. If the officers did not recognise it, that reflects a lack of knowledge on their part, not wrongdoing by the auditor.
A civil agreement.
Of being arrested because you haven't given us his details and you're going to walk out that door and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a civil. But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
Unlawful arrest.
Like I said, we've been honest with you and out in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest. Okay, and all I'm saying is, if you get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But as far as I do, then technically, if you walk out the door, it's going to be make without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
Or you give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you.
Is it urgent?
That He said he would take the coin.
But he isn't now, is
if
he?
I take my mask off.
Right, well I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with it that way. For all I know, that vehicle could be registered to somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't need to assist you.
Situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go.
But I don't need to assist you.
Are you offering to give the staff, not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option, but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
You can prove that at court. Prove that at court.
That's fine, you can prove that at court.
Right, well this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything,
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to the letter line. Oh, anything you do is maybe given evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest is prompted in fact investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
You're under caution still.
And due to the fact you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Failed to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? We're going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we ask everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
This is the point where the situation moves beyond poor judgment and into clear abuse of power. The officers arrested the auditor for making off without payment while he was still standing inside the store, openly telling them, "I haven't made off." That statement alone should have ended the matter immediately. The offence requires a person to actually leave without paying. He had not left, was not attempting to leave, and made that completely clear. Despite this, the officers still went ahead with the arrest. Legally, the decision is extremely difficult to justify. Under the Theft Act, two main elements must be proven: leaving without payment and the intention to permanently avoid paying. In this case, neither element existed. The auditor had already offered a valid form of payment and was still actively involved in the dispute inside the store. The offence the officers relied on simply did not exist at that moment, yet they proceeded with the arrest anyway. The auditor later provided an update regarding his claim.
I walked out of those gates after being falsely arrested for using the £20 coin. The Chief Constable has paid out £4,000 in compensation, but unfortunately he did not apologise at any point, even taking him to court. He went all the way to court, we had the hearing date, and then the Chief Constable saw some sense and paid £4,000 in compensation, but no apology.
The case eventually went to court, and the auditor received a payout of £3,999 plus legal costs. That is a significant amount of money for a situation that should never have escalated in the first place. It also shows how weak the police position became once their actions were examined under legal scrutiny. In the end, they chose to settle rather than defend the case. What makes the situation even more damaging is the claim that the Chief Constable never offered an apology. Thousands of pounds in taxpayer money were paid out, effectively acknowledging wrongdoing, yet no public apology was given. That silence speaks loudly and raises serious questions about accountability within the force. This case highlights how a simple civil dispute over a coin, something that never required police involvement, turned into a wrongful arrest because authority and ego replaced common sense. Instead of calmly assessing the situation, the officers relied on threats, detention, and arrest. Throughout the incident, the officers repeatedly justified their actions with what-if scenarios, suggesting the auditor might leave without paying, even though he never indicated any intention to do so. Their entire argument was built on assumptions rather than actual evidence. That is not proper policing. It is creating a criminal narrative where one did not exist. The incident also reflects a wider issue where intimidation is sometimes used instead of knowledge, patience, and communication. When officers depend on fear rather than facts, public trust in policing is damaged. If a situation like this can escalate over a disputed coin, it raises concerns about how easily other minor disputes could be mishandled as well. The aftermath only deepened those concerns. Nearly £4,000 of taxpayer money was paid out, yet there was still no apology from senior leadership. To many people, that gives the impression that protecting the reputation of the force mattered more than addressing the conduct of the officers involved. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.